New York Times quote, we should find it for the Mummy. It's like, the Mummy should have stayed buried, or that's just like the bottom line. That's
that just writes itself.
Yeah,
That's too easy.
Like, they love to be punny, or they love to like, you know.
The Mummy. I can't even think of one that's better than that. Yeah, the Mummy
Yeah.
should have stayed buried.
Yeah.
Unwrap the Mummy, or
Wrap it back up.
yeah, wrap it back.
Wrap it up.
Wrap it back up.
Wrap it up.
All right. Looks like we are coming in live right now. So, hello. This is Between the Streams. This is our weekly entertainment podcast where we talk about movies and entertainment and television. We broadcast live on Facebook and YouTube and then also go up as a podcast afterward. And we love to hear feedback on what we're talking about. Like, get your opinions on this. Like, today we want to have a discussion about something, but we're also going to cover, all the new trailers that are coming out, some news for, like, Black Panther. There's some actually breaking Black Panther news that just came out today. Breaking buzzwords. We're talking about The House. We got Game of Thrones news, all kinds of things from HBO and Netflix. And I'm Greg Nibbler.
I'm Ryan Juanita.
And so what we want to ask right off the bat is we have this question that we posted on Facebook and YouTube right now, which is talking about The Mummy. So The Mummy debuts today. It's out in theaters.
Yeah.
Keep it buried.
For better or worse.
For better or worse, The
Yeah.
Mummy is out. And The Mummy, in case you didn't know, is supposed to be the start of Universal's quote-unquote dark universe, which is what they're calling their cinematic universe.
Yeah,
So
because everybody has to have a cinematic universe.
everybody's got to have a cinematic universe. And
Otherwise, you're an utter failure as a studio.
complete failure. And so the Mummy, it's supposed to be The Mummy, and then Bride of Frankenstein's going to come out. They've already cast Johnny Depp as the Invisible Man.
Russell Crowe is sort of playing this central character as Dr. Jekyll, who's going to
Right.
help them, sort of move in between movies. He's like the guy that knows what's going down.
Yeah, it's supposed to tie them all together. Yeah,
Even though he's also Mr. Hyde and,
Right.
Experimenting with chemicals and becoming a monster.
Yes, and so I imagine that's the underlying thing or something along with it.
Right.
But so, and then another Dracula is going to come out. So it's supposed to be this huge dark universe that they're calling it, cinematic universe. And The Mummy's reviews are coming out so terrible that we're wondering if it's even going to tank it just right after that.
Yeah, the problem is that they thought the Mummy was going to work so they had so much confidence in it with Tom Cruise and Russell Crowe and just the basic story. Sofia Boutella, who's really hot actress, and as far as like her star power.
Oh, okay.
No, not yeah. I mean, she's attractive as well. But she's been in some stuff, and she's really coming up, and she's the bad guy. And they thought, oh, this is going to be great. So they've got this huge thing plotted out.
Yeah.
And now it's at 18%. It's just going to be a total critical failure, which, to be honest, didn't stop DC from doing anything.
That's true.
But so we're going to have to see if this thing's going to make money. But there's a big difference between a DC movie about Batman and Superman and an old monster property that used to be popular in the 30s and then had a renaissance with Brendan Fraser. But then they played that out. They did 7 of those and then went into Scorpion King
and all those
almost
spin-offs.
killed Dwayne the Rock Johnson's career right before it got started. And so now it's like this whole thing, and we also heard more news about the Dark Universe today.
Yeah.
Or this week.
We did, yeah, of additional franchises that are supposed to be part of this Dark Universe.
Which may not happen now.
Which, yeah, we'll see if it happens. But so in addition to the Bride of Frankenstein, Invisible Man, Dracula, there's also now, they want to include in this universe, which I'm not sure how all of this works, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, that makes sense. Phantom of the Opera is supposed to be in the Mummy universe. No, that's not. It doesn't count. It doesn't work for that.
A deranged singer who got his face messed up.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how you tie that in to Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And then on top of that, they've got the Hunchback of Notre Dame, which is all supposed to be. These are all going to be tied together in their dark universe, cinematic universe. Or
so they thought. But so we thought today we'd talk maybe a little bit about cinematic universes in general, the good ones and the bad ones, how you guys feel about them, and basically just what's going on here.
Yeah.
Now, Star Wars is kind of its own thing, but Disney has a cinematic universe going with Star Wars with a prequel series, the regular series, original series, and then the sequels, and then the spin-offs, which we've got the Han Solo movie.
True.
We had the Rogue One, and we expect many more coming from that. But, what Disney really figured out what to do is with Marvel. And Marvel is the sort of the framework.
Yeah,
this is how you do it.
The gold standard for cinematic universes.
And let's talk about why. Marvel had a well-plotted plan from Disney with multiple phases going on. They have Phase 1, which started with Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, and all that. it ended with the Avengers. It went from 2008 to 2012, $3.8 billion that one made. They got Phase 2, which is the last 2013 to 2015. That was the post-Avengers Battle of New York stuff. So the Battle of New York all fit into this.
Right.
And then they started, the first one was working with the Tesseract, and then this second one. It gets very sort of confusing, I suppose, but there's a plotted plan here, and then all these different movies came out for that, including new characters they introduced with like Quicksilver, Ant-Man, Scarlet Witch, and then they introduced the whole Guardians of the Galaxy thing. I believe that was part of Phase 3, or maybe it was the end of Phase 2.
I think maybe the end of Phase 2.
But now Phase 3 came through with Doctor Strange. We got Guardians 2. We're getting Spider-Man coming in. All these movies have done really well, and most of them have been critically acclaimed as well.
Yeah.
And this is the only system like that we've seen in these cinematic universes.
That's completely worked,
and so it made sort of natural sense that DC was going to follow. So let's talk about DC's thing.
Well, I think one of the things we want to do, too, is as we're talking about this...
Yeah, and we can get some questions, too, yeah.
Yeah, we posted the question, are there any cinematic universes you'd like to see that haven't happened? And we want to kind of run down... I don't think a lot of people are aware of how many cinematic universes are being planned right now.
Yeah.
So we wanted to kind of give you just an update on what some of these ones are. Marvel, we know.
Yeah, and
Marvel's great.
And DC was an obvious one. Of course,
DC
if Marvel's going to do
makes
it, Warner Brothers owns the DC properties, so of course they're going to do it. But even DC, with all the material they have, hasn't felt nearly as well crafted. Of course, they've had the critical failures, although it's been making money, but it just hasn't lived up to Marvel. Now, remember, they had the Justice League thing coming, but if anybody who saw Batman versus Superman, Marvel drops in a lot of hints in their movies, but they did it over dozens of movies. Mm-hmm. Whereas Batman versus Superman had like 7 different connectors. Like the Flash just showed up for no reason, and Wonder Woman was cool in it. She was like the good part, and then like Aquaman showed up in there, and they were like, Justice League, it's coming. It was just this whole thing that felt really forced. And then of course they had Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, Justice League, Aquaman, The Flash, the new Ben Affleck Batman, Cyborg, Shazam, Gotham City Sirens, which is the one, the Suicide Squad spinoff that Margot Robbie is going to be doing. Margot Robbie is doing.
I'm okay with Margot Robbie.
Justice League 2, and that's their thing. But that one is probably the most, out of the Star Wars, that might be the most like relevant one to do it, because Marvel set the stage and DC has all the characters.
That's true.
But there are so many more.
There's a couple of comments coming through just about, Alan says, superheroes have shared universes from their origin comics.
Yes.
Which you're right. So, I mean,
That's
Marvel
why it makes
did it well.
sense.
DC seems like they're forcing it, and Courtney sums that up nice. DC uses a sledgehammer. That's true.
That is
they're
really
just
great
hammering
point.
it over the head like, we have a universe too.
We have one.
We have one.
And it also comes down to the talent you have backing this up. It's the studio, because Disney is just really good at making good stuff.
They are.
And then it's the talent you've got backing it up. Disney has Kathleen Kennedy on their side, and Marvel's like whole felt out universe with all of the creators and Stan Lee there. Mm-hmm. And they just have a lot of good players in there. Jon Favreau has helped out with that one. DC is Zack Snyder and David Goyer. They just haven't done as well until Patty Jenkins came around with Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
But then there's so many more. So let's talk about a few of the other ones.
So we're going to give you a list of the different cinematic universes you may not even be aware of that are happening right now. Right. Since really the success of Marvel, that's what it comes down to, that everybody's trying to do. So let's see. From the start, just in comic book ones alone, there are side cinematic universes, and a light just fell in the background.
A light fell.
So there are side cinematic universes in the back that are also happening. So Spider-Man, we now know, is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, joining Iron Man and all of that.
So that's Spider-Man: Homecoming is part of the Phase 3 effort because they couldn't get him signed on before that.
So they got some Spider-Man signed on into this. However, Sony still has the rights to a whole bunch of Spider-Man villains, and so now they're going to create their own cinematic universe separate from anything else.
And Spider-Man's not going to be in it.
And Spider-Man's not in it, just of Spider-Man villains. They've got Venom, which that one might be good.
And it's going to be R, and it's going to be horror, so that's interesting.
But then they have Silver Sable and Black Cat.
These
really kind of niche characters that are all going to be part of their own Spider-Man villain universe.
Right.
There's one. We've got
another one from Warner Brothers.
Another one from Warner Brothers.
The Lego universe.
Lego universe.
Which started with the Lego movie. Then we had Batman Lego. Then we have Ninjago coming out. And then we have another Lego sequel. There's a Batman Lego sequel coming as well. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the Lego cinematic universe from Warner Brothers is better than the DC one.
Yeah.
So far, I mean, I really enjoyed Wonder Woman, but so far the Lego movies are
knocking it out
more critically acclaimed, and I don't know. I think they're more interesting in some ways.
So that's the Lego universe.
Yeah,
that's
there's
happening.
that one.
Another one, and I still think a lot of people don't understand that these are going to be tied together. Which it's Godzilla, which came out a couple of years ago. Now you have King Kong that came out. Those two are part of Warner Brothers' Monsterverse. Everybody's got to have a name for their universe now.
And let's not forget that all of these are rebooted, sometimes triple rebooted movies.
Yeah. And I'm not saying necessarily this is going to be bad or good. I'm just saying it's a lot of cinematic
going through
universes.
the line. Then there's the Transformers one.
Transformers universe, which that's kind of a newer thing.
They have 5 movies in Transformers, but now they're getting to their spin-offs. Their spin-off movie is going to be Bumblebee, and it's going to be a more confined story, we think.
Okay.
With the Bumblebee story.
So Bumblebee's getting a solo movie.
Yeah, solo movie for Bumblebee.
All right.
Yeah.
I stopped watching after the first Transformers, and I love Transformers, but
we'll have to see how that plays out. Although Bumblebee was one of my favorite characters.
Bumblebee's great. Yeah. Let's see. And taking a look here, just calling back to the
some of the
chat.
comments.
Yeah, some of the comments. Monterio says redo the Mortal Kombat series. I could see that being. I wonder if that's in the works. To be honest, I don't know. I could definitely see that happening. Dan says bring back Shia for the Transformers movies. Has he been gone? Oh yeah, it's Mark Wahlberg that's been in them.
It's
right?
all Wahlberg.
Yeah, it's all Wahlberg all the time.
We're not giving up on Prime, okay? We're not giving up on Prime. And just as an aside, with the Transformers thing, when did Transformers get so freaking dramatic? I don't know if you've seen this new trailer, but it's like this apocalyptic thing, and Optimus Prime is evil. But here's the thing: I was in the movies to see Wonder Woman, and they played that trailer, and it's like dark and sort of depressing and very long. And the whole audience was kind of like breathing a sigh of relief when it was done. I don't know. Maybe people enjoyed it. But then they screwed up and they played it again. Back to back. And everybody in the theater was like, oh, God. And then there's the one guy that gets up because he's not going to take it. He's going to go yell. Yeah.
Oh, he went and yelled at
It was too late. We all just had to sit there and take it, man.
I mean, even if it's a 2-minute trailer, you're going to go yell at the projector guy or girl or whatever.
Still,
you screwed up.
How dare you?
They know they screwed up.
How do they do that on a digital? Anyway, that's fine.
Okay.
So then there's Call of Duty.
Bouncing to the other cinematic universes is to let you know what's actually happening.
Yeah.
And this one, speaking of Mortal Kombat as a video game, Call of Duty is going to be getting its own cinematic universe.
From Activision and Blizzard.
Call of Duty. So
then there's, of course, the Harry Potter ones. They had 8 movies in Harry Potter, but that wasn't enough. So now they've got the Fantastic Beasts, which that first one I did enjoy, but maybe a lot of people might not know. There are 5 movies coming out about this, which all started from a textbook in one of the Harry Potter books.
Yeah. Although
I enjoyed it.
Although Harry Potter, I can kind of see
there's
that.
a lot of world building to be
there.
done there.
Yeah,
and they're going on the American school side, and they're starting in prequels, so there's a lot there.
That's true. Bill brings up a point that I don't even think we had this one on the list.
Yeah.
Of the Alien universe.
Oh, yeah.
Of the Alien movies, yeah.
Well,
I mean, they're kind of
all
on
not quite
the same
a cinematic.
line.
It's like where do you draw that line? But there's sure are a crap load of Alien movies.
There's a crap load of
and
aliens.
that's kind of how X-Men has been, where they have all these movies, and some of them are sort of connected, and some of them aren't, and you can call it a cinematic universe, but it's not even planned out or structured.
Yeah.
Like not even like DC is, where it's messy, but at least there's a plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then there's also the Jump Street, which is the comedy
21
cinematic
Jump
universe.
Street. Yeah, 21 Jump Street.
Yeah. Which I enjoyed that movie, and I enjoyed the sequel. It's dumb, but it's fun.
Yeah, and so here's the theory on this. And again, we're just letting you know what the theories are out there, or what the plans are for these different cinematic universes.
And this is Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who also did, I believe, the Lego movie. So they got some clout.
So you had 21 Jump Street, and you had 22 Jump Street, and now there's going to be 23 Jump Street, and here's the crossover.
Yeah.
Here's the cinematic universe.
Yeah.
Men in Black.
Yeah, they're going to
and 21 Jump Street
redo Men in Black somehow, and then that's
going
to land in 21 Jump Street's pond. We don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So there is that. We've got a couple more, too.
Yeah.
And again, we're just informing you, but I am seeing here as the comments come through, Christian says, wasn't there some news story last year about a Nintendo cinematic universe that can't end well? Yeah. Yeah, you are correct, Christian. I don't know if there is.
And also, these are just the major ones that we know about.
Right.
And we're finishing off. There's Hasbro, which they're doing something with the G.I. Joe films. I haven't seen any of those. I've seen a few bits and pieces, and it's kind of unwatchable for me.
I mean,
It's very Star Wars, or I mean, sorry, it's very Transformers-like. I feel like, which I liked the first one, but it just kind of like spun out of control.
Yeah.
I feel like the GI Joes are doing that as well. But
Yeah.
the GI Joe, the Hasbro one, isn't just GI Joe. They're going to include some weird toys you probably forgot about, like the Micronauts,
which I don't remember the Micronauts.
Visionaries,
I don't remember that.
Mask, spelled
Mask,
MASK,
I do. Mask, and I can't remember what the
and
acronym was for.
Space Knight. I
don't know.
Look, I know a lot about the 80s, but I have no idea.
Yeah. I don't know this one either.
Yeah.
So those are all going to be tied in to their own Hasbro cinematic universe.
Right.
And
then, of course, Star Wars. That was
and
the
then
last
Star
one,
Wars.
which
Star
I
Wars
guess
being
we've
the
already
last one.
touched on. But those are just the big ones that we know about. So
Yeah.
I guess our point is, like, it's getting out of control.
It's a lot.
It's one thing to say, oh, there's too many superhero movies, but it's like, it is really getting out of
really,
control
there's
with the
too many.
cinematic universes. And I think that there are some important points of how to make these. One is a really good studio, and two is a really good pair of creatives or team of creatives behind it. And three is some kind of story or plot or plan that is a long-term plan that can work. And I think Marvel has proven that.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else has.
Yeah, I
Besides,
don't know either.
Star Wars.
Star Wars, yeah. I mean, in the Harry Potter one, I get that.
Yes.
But
Marvel is the only one that's really carried out this vision correctly in my book. And I think other people might want to think twice before they put all their money down, like The Mummy has. And it's embarrassing. And there's one last thing I'll say about The Mummy, and that's the fact that Dracula Untold was supposed to kick off their cinematic universe. Well, you didn't know because no one saw that movie. It happened in 2014 with Luke Evans, and he wasn't really a name then. He's gotten, I think he came back from that, and he's getting some props now. But that was supposed to kick it off. And so now they have 2 failures to the start of this epic plan.
So The Mummy was basically supposed to be their Iron Man to kick off this whole
Exactly.
cinematic universe,
Yeah.
and it's not.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well,
So there you have it.
One more note here. A couple of things as far as Mobile Armed Strike Command. Thank you. That was what MASK
Mobile Armed
stood
Strike
for.
Command. Nice.
Okay. Awesome.
Command spelled with a K.
Command with a K. Yep. Courtney says we need He-Man and She-Ra.
Dude, thank you. He-Man.
Yeah, I would watch a
Where
He-Man.
is He-Man here? I mean, Hasbro is digging that deep into the vault, and we haven't done He-Man yet?
I mean, He-Man's a huge universe
it's
you could expand.
insane. And you know what? That's one of the few old cartoons that's still fun.
Get some Stinkor in there.
You can watch those on Netflix, and they're kind of psychedelic and weird, and they're weird enough that
Man
the
at
dumbness
Arms.
actually
Yeah.
works. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, good one. All right.
Totally.
He-Man and She-Ra. We're on board for that
I'm on
one.
board for that.
Okay, well, let's to a couple other things, and we'll
Let's do that.
touch back on the cinematic universe too. But we do have a few things to get through here today. And talking about the weekend box office with The Mummy being out, there is a horror movie out that's getting huge reviews.
Yeah, this
Like
is the
really,
one we're
really
excited
good
about.
reviews.
This is the one that we're going to tell you to go see.
The biggest reviews.
Yeah.
It comes at night.
We've got the best words in these reviews.
The words
the
are great.
biggest words.
Words are great in these reviews.
That's true.
So it comes at night, and
Yeah.
so we've got a trailer. We'll play that if you're watching live on Facebook and YouTube. It's from writer-director Trey Edward Schultz, and I'll be honest, didn't know much.
Yeah,
from
he's
him
an indie
before.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah, indie guy. Stars Joel Edgerton and Riley Keough.
Right, Lakio, yeah.
Keough, is that how you say her name?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's about the only other big star. But
Yeah.
Joel Edgerton is really making a name for himself with these dramatic performances.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Midnight Special, and he's been a few other things. And
Okay.
he's really starting to show that he can drive a movie. And from what Rick Marshall tells us, he's our DT guy that goes and sees all this stuff. He got an early screening of this movie, and from what he said, it's masterfully done as far as the scares.
Well, and naturally they don't give away too much, so
Right.
that way you can't ruin the movie. But it's from what they describe it's set during like an apocalyptic time.
Yeah, it's like near future apocalypse. There's some kind of pathogen or something we don't know.
But then this family is going to live off the grid out in the middle of the woods.
They're out in the woods, and like there's a fear. Like, is it the humans that are creating the fear? Like, is it inside the house? Is it outside the
Yeah.
house? And no one,
call is
none of
coming
us
from
know
upstairs.
exactly, and none of us know what the monster is or what the scary thing is.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of, from what we understand from Rick's review and others, a lot of psychological thrills. It's the demon that you make in your head but don't necessarily see. I'm sure there's going to be some actual blood and gore here, but mostly it's about this sort of walking in cold and seeing a really scary movie, which I love to do.
Yeah, and I mean, and I have no idea if I haven't seen the movie, but
Right.
just the trailer alone gives me kind of a cabin in the woods kind of vibe. Like there's
Yeah,
something
I mean,
different
except
about
not
it.
all the fun camping
Well,
cabin in
not-
the woods
no,
stuff.
yeah,
but yeah, I
but-
know what you're saying.
with something along those
Right,
lines. So
right.
it comes at night. That's out in theaters this weekend. Another movie that's out this weekend is My Cousin Rachel, which I'll be honest, you kind of took a look at
This is kind of
one.
an interesting one. It's funny because it's Rachel Weisz playing Rachel. It's
Okay,
kind of
that's
weird.
cool.
But it's a remake, and it's basically about it's like, I think it's, maybe 18th century Britain or something like that. And it's basically about a wealthy family whose the guy's caretaker or whatever, his guardian, is killed by his cousin, I guess.
Okay.
And she is this enigmatic woman, and she comes to stay with them, and he thinks that she's the murderer.
Okay.
But there's something very...
But something is amiss.
There's something about her. He can't help himself. And
Okay.
there's in the trailer, there's these teases that she might be poisoning him. You don't know. She keeps asking him to drink the tea.
Okay.
And he sort of is going crazy. It's one of those those twisty movies, it looks
Okay.
like. So.
Okay. A
But it's
twisty
getting,
movie.
It's getting pretty good
It's
reviews.
a certified twisty movie.
It's certified
From
twisty.
Between the Streams. Stamp it twisty.
Stamp that twisty.
All right, My Cousin Rachel, and then finally the tearjerker movie for the weekend.
Oh
is
yeah, the doggy.
Megan Levy, which is based. So the movie stars. Oh my gosh, I didn't write her name down. Where's her name at? Kate Mara.
There it
Kate
is.
Mara.
Nailed
I'll
it.
find the Star Wars picture soon. All right,
Nailed
so
it.
Kate Mara. So Megan Levy and it's based on a true life story of a young Marine who had a military combat dog. She had a canine unit, and the bond that they formed. And tears and so on.
Yeah, and why can't she keep the dog?
And it's set in war.
Why
yeah,
can't
they
she
want to take
keep
the
the
dog
dog?
away from her. Yeah, again, I guess this is based on a true story. It looks like it's really well done. It's
Yeah.
one of those that's probably going to be hard to watch, but
Yeah.
it is there.
my girlfriend will have to see it, I'm
yeah,
sure.
I have trouble watching movies with animals.
Yeah.
Like when it comes in, show me all the gore with people you want.
If
But
you
when it
kill-
comes to a dog,
If you kill Hooch, I'm gonna lose my.
yeah, I just oh man. I still haven't watched John Wick yet, and I remember,
Oh,
but
because
I'm
of the
already
puppy.
dreading because I know that scene's in there.
They don't
like,
really harp on that too much. It's mostly just shoot 'em, bang up.
All right.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Anyway, leave the dog alone.
All right,
All right, moving on.
moving on.
Back to Marvel. Oh yes, Dan just mentioned the I Am what is it? The Will Smith zombie movie. What is it? I Am a Legend.
Oh yeah.
My God, yeah.
I've heard about that.
Sorry, spoilers. I Am Legend.
Never saw that
dog.
actually,
Oh, man.
because I thought it was too depressing
It's
looking.
real depressing. It's a really good movie.
Yeah, I
okay.
should check it out.
Bouncing off from the depressing stuff. So let's
Yeah.
talk about some more Marvel Cinematic Universe and having to do with the Black Panther.
Okay.
So Black Panther, we got a little bit more information today. And Marvel released a poster, a couple of, I think one poster, but showing a new, different kind of font. The poster actually shows him with his claws. Now the claws look a little bit strange if you zoom in. I don't think you can zoom in.
Yeah,
on it,
I like
yeah,
the
we got another
poster,
picture.
but when you look at the claws, it's very like house cat kitty looking to me. It's like, you think he might be purring.
Yeah.
It's a little interesting. I don't know. I'm not that familiar with Black Panther. He was badass in what was he in? Captain America: Civil War.
Yeah.
I thought he was badass in that. So
I
I'm sure
love
he
the
will be
character,
badass. I just
T'Challa,
the
yeah.
claws are kind of interesting.
The claws are interesting. So we got the poster now for Black Panther.
But
And
we're-
again, this movie comes out February 16th, 2018. So
And we're gearing up for the trailer, the first trailer, which they're gonna drop on the tonight's massacre in
of
in
the
Cleveland.
Cavaliers.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so
As the Cavaliers are put up on the altar, Black Panther will show up at some point.
yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, so the Black Panther trailer is supposed to debut during Game 4 of the NBA Finals tonight, probably the last game of the Finals. So
I would think so.
let's see, Brian says his head looks superimposed. I guess I'd have to see it.
I
Maybe
kind of,
it is.
Yeah, I kind of agree with
Maybe
that.
it is.
It's like all
And-
CGI, and it's just his head on there.
And Teresa says meow. So
Meow.
I'm not sure what kind of meow that was, so I didn't know how to emphasize it.
I think
but-
mine was right.
Yeah.
Meow.
Meow.
Yeah. Okay.
Or it's meow. I don't know. All right, enough of that. Moving on. Let's watch that Transformers 5 trailer.
Let's.
One that you were talking about. Well, we do have it there just to.
Oh
mean,
yeah,
people
there's
still
some
keep
new
seeing
stuff.
these.
Yeah, this is the international version, right?
The international version. So Transformers 5.
There's some Nazis here, I guess.
We got Nazis. There's a robot butler of some kind.
They're on the moon.
They go to the moon.
Anthony Hopkins is being very dramatic.
There's a dragon robot.
Mark Wahlberg isn't giving up on Prime.
Yep. So all that's
Yeah.
happening there. Hey, robot, where you go?
Is that your Mark Wahlberg?
I-
Hey, robot.
Hey,
Why are you being
robot.
so mean?
What's your deal?
Where's Optimus Prime?
Where you going, robot? Oh, that's terrible. Okay,
All right.
we're devolving
That's
quickly.
that's all we could do.
Let's bounce on through. So there we go, Transformers 5. There was one other thing that posted this week, just that I wanted to, not one other thing. We're going to talk about a few other things. But there's an image that came up. This isn't really news about movies, about the movie itself. But
This
we
is
do
just
know,
kind of a fun,
it's just funny.
thing.
We do know that Hellboy is getting remade, and it's not going to be Ron Perlman. It's
And we
gonna
talked
be-
about that. That's going to be tough for us not to see Ron Perlman
Yeah.
as Hellboy. He just kind of feels like Hellboy to me after those first two movies. And they're also going to be without Guillermo del Toro, so it's
Yeah.
going to be interesting to see how that's reborn.
But David Harbour
Yeah.
from Stranger Things, the sheriff in Stranger Things, he's going to be playing Hellboy. And this week there was a picture posted, and in the description, David Harbour's, so you got current Hellboy or upcoming Hellboy and past Hellboy with Patton Oswalt sitting in between them.
Mediator, comedian extraordinaire, and super nerd Patton
Patton
Oswalt
Oswalt.
in the center.
And David Harbour posted on Twitter, Patton brokered a piece. It was incredible. I had reached out to Ron because I'm a big fan of his. He's a really sweet guy, and we just wanted to talk shop.
That's
and
great.
I thought Patton Oswalt would be the perfect chaperone in case Ron and I started to make out, or we started dancing too close, or if we started getting in a fist fight.
Which could either way. Could have gone either way.
gone either
they
way.
fall in love. They
Yeah.
fall into fighting.
Yeah.
And
then,
Patton Oswalt, for those who haven't seen his filibuster about the combination between the Star Wars universe and the Marvel universe via the Infinity Stones, it's something to see.
That is-
it was on Parks and Rec, but it made him sort of a nerd legend.
oh, that's right. Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
So he's the perfect man to broker this piece.
Ron Perlman also called Patton Oswalt Balvenie boy because I guess he made them drink a lot of scotch while they were there.
Nice.
So,
That's
so
awesome.
that was it. Anyway, the picture's pretty cool.
Yeah, you should definitely check it out. If you're watching the podcast or listening to the podcast, you should see the picture.
Caleb says, I like popsicles, but I do not like cream cheese.
All right, that is very random.
I've been imagining it's something. Okay, let's go. A
Yeah.
couple other things here to get to. Now, this, I will say,
This got our producer pretty angrified.
yes.
Yeah.
He threatened to be the first time that he's going to come on the show to talk about this. So it has to do with an animated franchise. And I want to be careful here because I have not seen this. I'm not a super fan, but
I'm
I know
aware of it. I've seen like cuts of it.
I have not
Yeah.
seen so many nerds so upset. And
Yeah.
I'm counting myself as a nerd. I'm just not
Yes.
a Cowboy Bebop one. So Cowboy Bebop.
Right.
This animated series, it was announced. It ran for 26 episodes and
It's one of
concluded
those
in 1999.
beloved cult classics
Yeah.
that's just sort of never died in people's hearts.
Well, according to Deadline, Tomorrow Studios is partnering with Midnight Radio, whatever that is, to produce a live action version of Cowboy Bebop. Now, again, this could have gone way, way under my radar, and I wouldn't have seen this, except for the fact that I have so many friends who were apparently Cowboy Bebop fans.
Yeah,
and
well,
are
it's like-
real pissed off about this.
It's really well designed. The animation is, and it's genre bending, which is
Yeah.
fun. So I get why people don't want to see it touched,
Yeah.
or would rather just see the original artists come back and make more. I also think it's pretty hard to make that live action. Like, how do
It
you
is,
make
yeah.
it's like, for instance, the Wachowskis tried to make some anime into live action with Speed Racer.
Yeah.
And from what I've heard, it's a very visually stunning movie, but it's just really hard to make that transition.
Well, and that's like Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
that
that's-
was
Dan was
an
brought that one
utter
up.
failure as well.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah,
Cowboy
we'll see
Bebop,
how
it's
that
going to be
works.
happening,
We'll see
and
about that.
everyone's in an uproar about it.
They're not
and
happy.
I having not seen it, I couldn't
And
even
as
give
a
you
studio,
whole
the
opinion.
question is like, if they're in an uproar, is that even better for you? I mean, it depends on how, I guess, vitriolic the uproar is, because you definitely no news
That
is
was my uproar.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's no bad press, right? You want people to know about this. You
Yeah.
want people to watch it, and maybe they will just to hate watch it, but that's still viewers.
It's true. All right. I'm looking at the time here, so we're going to kind of bounce through a few things a little quicker
Yes.
here just to get through this. This is there's a trailer that came out this week that's in conjunction with a movie that's going to be coming out on June 30th, and it's a movie called The House. And I just wanted to bring it up because I'm a huge Will Ferrell fan, and this kind of hits all the notes of everything you want in a Will Ferrell movie.
So, yeah.
No?
No, you go ahead. You go
Okay,
ahead.
all right. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm going to get shot down here in a second. So
Yep.
Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler teamed up, husband and wife. They gamble away their kids' college fund, and so they open up a casino in their neighbor's basement. The neighbor is Jason Mantzoukas from The League, which he's hilarious.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I like pretty much anything
He's
in.
amazing, yeah.
Nick Kroll's in it. It sounds like they've actually got quite a few League people in there. Jeremy Renner. Looks like it's funny to me.
Jeremy Renner's in it? I didn't know that.
Jeremy Renner's in it also. Now tell me why I'm wrong.
I want this to be good. I want this to be good. It just seems like such a cliffhanging premise. And when they make a comedy about, like, almost nothing, it's really hard to sustain. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying that, first of all, it's not going to be... the story is not going to be like a narrative that sticks with you, for one. But of course, you're not looking for that. I just don't know that it's going to be enough to make this funny. I really hope it's funny.
Okay.
I hope it's funny.
Well, I'm going to enjoy it in spite of you. So,
let me ask you a question. Did you like Office Christmas Party?
I have not seen that one.
Yeah, because that looked terrible to me. And there's a bunch of really great people in it because it's a really stupid idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be good. So I disagree.
Then again, Neighbors is a really...
I like fun things.
Then again, Neighbors is a really stupid idea, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, exactly.
So
there we go.
Yeah, don't cry. I don't want you to cry on the show.
It's going to get very dramatic.
You usually
here.
cry like right after the
tears.
show, but not during the show.
Tears will happen on this show.
Yep.
All right, let's get through the last few things.
Let's do that.
HBO Game of Thrones. We already talked about this last week that the final season may be pushed back to 2019 now, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, or the final part of the final. I don't know what they're calling it. Like part 2 or whatever it is.
Yeah. So, but since it's going to be so short, so the two final seasons, however, like you said, whatever you want to call them, will be 7 episodes each, but they will be long episodes.
They're basically movies. The last one is going to be the longest episode they've ever had. It's 81 minutes. 120 minutes.
Yeah.
So, or hour and 20 minutes, I should say. 81 minutes equals 120 minutes.
Math.
It's an hour and 20 minutes long. That's basically
a
movie.
show.
So I think that we're going to get a lot of action. It's almost going to be like a film series coming out every week. Which I don't know. I still think 2019 is a long time to wait, but when you look at it, when you look at it like that, it's almost a film cycle that we're waiting for. So we'll see.
Right. Okay, that's one way to look at it.
Yeah.
So there we go. One other thing with HBO that they announced this week is Al Pacino is signing on for another standalone movie with them. This time, though, tackling a real. Well, he tackled Dr. Jack Kevorkian before. That's pretty heavy subject.
That's pretty heavy.
This goes even deeper than that, though. He is going to be playing Joe Paterno in a movie that HBO is producing that's going to center around the end of Joe Paterno's career. Of course, he was the winningest coach in college football history, and then Jerry Sandusky happened.
Yeah.
And we all, what happened there at Penn State University. So it's going to center around Joe Paterno and towards the end of his career, how he's dealing with the Jerry Sandusky stuff, what goes on with that. That is going to be one heavy series to watch.
That's going to be heavy, and it should be
a movie.
Yeah, and it should be very interesting as far as just a character study, no doubt.
Yeah. I mean, so anyway, if anybody can play him, though, Al Pacino will be able to play Paterno. No word on who's playing the other guy, but that is something that will be happening at HBO. So I want to let that out there. Couple other things, final things here, just to as we're getting ready to wrap up and touching base on some things in the live chat, Facebook and YouTube. Christian says it's a Will Ferrell movie. It's going to be great.
I
You
like
go
your
for the
attitude.
one-liners and absurdity, not the mind-blowing story or groundbreaking acting.
No, I understand that. And Step
that,
Brothers
Ryan.
is a terrible movie, but it's also an amazing movie. It's one of my favorites.
Step Brothers is fantastic.
It's a bunch of really great comedy scenes that make a bad movie, but it's one of the most rewatchable movies ever, and I love it. So I get what you're saying. I hope
And
this
it also
works.
says, the house looks great. I'm with Greg. So just making a note of that.
All right,
screen
guys.
cap all of
We'll
these.
see how it all turns out.
All right.
Screen capping.
So, final couple of things. We did get a new trailer for Pixar's next movie, or I don't know if it's their actual next one, but a big Pixar movie that's coming out November 22nd, and it is called Coco. And again, animated movies are not my forte. You are more the animated.
Yeah, I mean, this
person.
looks pretty interesting. It definitely just the whole lineup reminds me of a lot of the stuff that Leica does. Maybe that's because my girlfriend works there, but they're the ones who did Coraline and Kubo and those kind of movies. It's definitely got a feeling like that. It's about a young boy who goes into the land of the dead. So it looks pretty fascinating. And the animation looks beautiful as usual. There should be a lot to work with there as far as world building when you go into the land of the dead. So could be quite interesting.
So there we go, Pixar's Coco. And then we've got one final thing we're going to touch on here. But I do see Caleb actually brought up a good question. What's the new Game of Thrones in terms of viewer obsession? I was hoping it was going to be Westworld, but I don't think that show has what it takes.
Oh yeah.
Is there another one out there that has that?
I would say
big of a
Stranger
following?
Things
Yeah.
for Netflix, but the one thing, and we were talking about this before, is the Game of Thrones has going for it is it still has not quite appointment viewing, but that week-to-week release schedule
not
that gets
that
you
binge.
talking about it. It's the water cooler show and all that crap.
Yeah.
And Netflix doesn't do that, of course. So Stranger Things, when it comes out, it's sort of this shot of good show heroin or whatever, and then you're wanting more. Whereas like Game of Thrones really pulls it out, and you've got that week by week thing. So
That's true.
There's not many other things that do that. I mean, I think Westworld had some of that.
Yeah.
And I guess you could look to other things.
I mean, there's another good series.
I mean, The
there.
Handmaid's Tale is,
Yeah,
is
that's-
gaining that kind of talkability, I think.
But The Handmaid's
But it's
Tale
not
is-
as grandiose. It's not as exciting, I don't think. I mean, it's really well done. It's beautiful,
Yeah.
but it's also very grim and
And it also
it's got its
centers
own
on
thing.
one character.
Right.
Versus Game of Thrones, you have all these.
doesn't
different
have
choices.
that huge world feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what has. I mean, because that takes such a big budget and such an amazing story to be able to create a world that big.
I mean, let's be
And
honest.
make it
There
work.
was only ever one Sopranos, and I think there may only ever
Yeah.
be one Game of Thrones. There's others that are like it, and there's other ways to do that and get that kind of attention.
But what's going to have the
uh,
same viewer obsession?
There's not
Is there
going to be
not one
another
out right now.
Not like that, I don't think.
Yeah.
Not in the same way.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. Interesting question. All right. So let's get to our final thing here,
Yeah.
which is
I don't know.
Ryan. I'm going to tease you. No. Okay.
Okay.
It is a new trailer that came out today or this week for a movie, another Tom Cruise movie. We
Oh,
started
that
off
one.
with the Tom
Okay.
Cruise movie. We're going to end with the Tom Cruise movie.
Gotcha.
September 29, 2017 is when this one comes out, and it's called Made in America. And it reminds me a lot of the movie Blow.
A lot
A
of the
lot
movie
of the
Blow.
movie Blow.
Yeah, and also Narcos.
And Narcos a little bit too, yeah. And it's based on the real-life pilot Barry Seal. And this guy really existed. Maybe he's still alive. I don't know.
We don't know how much of this story existed, but the guy did.
Yeah. So what this guy was is he was a pilot, an American who got caught up in the drug ring. He became a drug smuggler, even smuggling for Pablo Escobar, smuggling cocaine into the United States.
Yeah, but he was working for the CIA. That's the
But
crazy part.
Well, he got arrested, is what actually happened.
Oh, okay.
He got arrested, but the cartels didn't know about it. He flipped and decided to work for the CIA and the DEA, and then kept on delivering drugs, and then ratted them out.
Sort of a double agent.
Started a double agent. Again, it looks a lot like Blow.
The interesting thing about this to me is seeing Tom Cruise, squeaky clean Tom Cruise, land a plane in a suburban neighborhood and fall into a big old bag of cocaine
Yeah.
and jump on a kid's bike and ride away.
Yeah.
That alone might be the price. Worth the price of admission.
I'm going to
there.
watch it.
I'll watch it.
I love these kinds of
I
movies.
do too. I get into these kinds of movies. They're kind of Scarface, Goodfellas, like these big drug cartel movies. They're just fun to watch. Let's be honest.
Teresa says now we don't need to watch it. I mean,
they do give a lot
I
away.
mean, it's
Oh,
all-
did you ruin it for him, Greg?
Well, that's sort of.
No,
Whoops.
you're fine. It's a
Whoops.
true story. It's
No,
a true
the
story.
trailer kind of gives all that away anyway.
That's true.
But yeah, so anyway, that's going to be coming out September 29th, 2017.
Yep.
Last thing, I think, before we wrap up here, is The Preacher returns pretty soon. I want people to know about that. We'll talk about that a little bit more next week. Any final comments you have on cinematic universes, Ryan?
Just don't think that it's going to be a money play, guys. And I think the bottom line that I was kind of searching through this today and thinking about it, it's like when you go in for the dollar grab, for just the dollar grab, I think that's when you really get in trouble.
Yeah.
I think you have to have a plan and you have to have the right creatives, and the right creatives only want to be a part of something that has good, a good backing, a good studio backing it. So I think the problem with a lot of these is the dollar grab.
Yeah.
And we'll
Like,
see.
oh, well, the kids like the cinematic
yeah,
universe.
you got
we
like
got
those
one of
cinematic universes. We can get one of them.
We get your monsters. You like to be scared?
I just don't know if that works.
Well, we will find out. The Mummy out this weekend, the first of Universal's Dark Universe, and
And
not
maybe the
getting
last.
the great reviews. So we'll see what happens with that.
And maybe the last.
And again, this is Between the Streams. This is our weekly show where we talk about entertainment, movies, television. It's really fun having discussions with everybody who watches live on Facebook and YouTube, but we're also up as an audio podcast. So subscribe to that. Go to iTunes or wherever you're getting your podcasts. Just type in Digital Trends and subscribe to all three of our podcasts. They're all different and they're all fun, and we love having people interact with us. Let us know what you think.
But mostly this one.
I'm not going to divide my loyalties.
No, you're not.
No, but yeah, everything is different. Each one of them is very different. And
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, like I said, we love to hear feedback. You can email podcast@digitaltrends.com. Let us know if you think we're wrong on something. Ryan's wrong on the house. I just told him that.
Never happened.
So probably you're not mad at me, but if you're mad at him, please feel free to
Send
email.
all emails to Greg Nibbler at.
So, all right, thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in, and we will be back next week with another episode.